Hi everybody, I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps. Today I'm going to show you how to make the Wild Jasmine blanket square. This video goes along with a full written pattern and several charts. You can find the charts and the pattern at the link in the description on this video if you're watching it on YouTube, or in the blog post if you're watching this directly on my blog. I'll be using King Cole Comfort Aran yarn in the colors Cream, Orchid, and Truffle. Let's start right in the center with the stitch that gives this square its name, the Jasmine stitch. It's made up of multi-part puff stitches that all connect for a beautiful floral design. Let's take a look. Round one is right here at the center. It starts with this spiral symbol, which is a magic ring, and a chain 1. Or you could do a chain 2 and work all of this into the second chain from the hook. Either way is fine. These stitches are first a small puff stitch, which is just one puff stitch, but it's a special kind of puff stitch for this pattern. And then we've got these 2 puff combo stitches here. They've got 2 legs to them, all the way around until we get to the last one, which has 3 legs to it. Now, I rarely use a slip knot. I just start with a twisted loop, which makes my first chain act like a magic circle. So there's my magic circle, and I'm going to chain 1. Okay, now let's make a small puff stitch. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the loop, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Okay, yarn over, insert our hook into the magic circle, yarn over, and pull up a loop. One more time, yarn over, insert our hook in the magic circle, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now we should have 7 loops on our hook, and this is where it gets different from a normal puff stitch, okay? We're going to hold this yarn as we pull it through. So see how I'm holding that yarn with my finger? I don't want it to get lost when I pull through all 7 of those loops. I want that yarn to stick out there for a second because I'm going to put my hook back in it. So with that yarn held out, I'm going to stick my hook back in it, yarn over, and pull through both that loop and the loop on my hook. And that kind of makes the top of the stitch, and then I'm going to chain 1. So that right there is the top of the stitch. That's where we're going to work into when we work back into this stitch. So that's our first small puff. Now we have one of these 2-part puff stitches. So let's do that. So first I'm going to pull this loop up to about the same height as the height of that puff stitch. Then I'm going to yarn over, and remember where I said the top of that puff stitch was? I'm going to insert my hook into the top of that puff stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Do that 2 more times. Yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. And 1 more time, yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. So now I've got 7 loops on my hook, and that is the first leg of my 2-part puff stitch. The second leg is going to be in the magic circle. So again, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook now in the magic circle, yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and notice I'm pulling up the loops to about the same height every time. Yarn over, insert my hook in the magic circle, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Now I should have 13 loops on my hook. There's 2 parts to it. There's 7 loops here, and there's 6 loops here. So holding back this yarn, just like before, I'm going to pull through all 13 of those loops, okay? And then stick my hook in that held back yarn, yarn over, and pull through that held back yarn and the loop on my hook. And there is my 2-part puff stitch. You can see 1 part there and 1 part there. 1 part there, 1 part there. I'm going to do that same thing again. I'm going to end up doing this a total of 4 times. So that was 1. Draw up the loop on my hook to the height that I want. Yarn over, insert in the top of the puff I just made. So right there. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Again, that's 2. Again, that's 3. Okay, that's 7 loops on my hook. Now I yarn over again and I go back to the magic circle, insert, pull up a loop, that's 1, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, that's 2, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. That's 3 times. So that's 7 loops here, 6 loops here, yarn over, hold on to that yarn as I yarn over, right? And pull through all 13 loops on my hook. Then before I lose it, stick my hook into that yarn over and pull through that and through the loop on my hook. And then chain 1. I think I forgot to chain 1 on the last one. It's not absolutely critical, but you should chain 1. Okay, let's do that again. Raise my loop to the height that I want, yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loop. And I'm working into the last puff that I made. I'm doing that 3 times, okay? Now going back into the magic circle, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, okay? Yarn over, grab that yarn, pull through all 13 loops on your hook, stick your hook back into the yarn that you grabbed, and yarn over and pull through both. So now I've made, and you can count them on the top, right? I've made 1 set of 2, which is this puff and that puff. And then the second set of 2 is that puff and that puff. And then the third set of 2 is here. And I need to make a total of 4 of those. So that was 3. Let me do 1 more. And I'm going to go kind of fast because we've done it a few times now. Pull up the loop, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. Okay, now go into the magic circle and do that 3 times. And I've got 13 loops on my hook. Hold this yarn as I yarn over, pull through all 13, stick my hook into that yarn, pull through that one and the loop on my hook, and chain 1. So that is now 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 2-part puff stitches. That the 2 puff cluster is what it's called in the pattern, but that's 4 2 puff clusters that I've worked into the magic circle. So the last thing to do, so I did my small puff here, and then I did 1, 2, 3, 4 2 puff clusters. Now we're going to finish it off with a 3 puff cluster. Notice the puffs I was counting on top. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's going to add 2 on the top, so that'll finish us off with 6 puffs going across the top. So let's do that one. It goes into the previous puff, into the magic circle, and then into the first puff that we made. So that's going to be a lot of loops on our hook, right? Okay, so yarn over, pull up my loop to the height that I want, yarn over, insert it in the previous puff that I made, pull up a loop, 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, now in the magic circle, 1, 2, 3 times. And finally, in the top of this small puff here, and you may find it easier now to tighten your magic circle so that it all comes back around, but see, there's our first 2-part puff stitch, and it's worked into that top of that puff right there, that first puff. So that top of that puff is right here. Okay, do you see that little tiny hole right there? It's right there. That's where we're going to go. So yarn over, and then yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. 1 more time. Over, pull up a loop. So that is 7 here, 7 loops here, 6 for this one and 6 for that one. So that's 19 loops all told. Yarn over, hold that in place there, and pull through all 19 of those loops, and then stick your hook into that held loop, yarn over, pull through the held loop and the loop on your hook, and chain 1. And that is the end of our round 1. And you can see all that chaos came together in this really pretty circle. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals around the top, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals in the center, 6 spokes. Let's take a look at round 2. We finished right here at the end of round 1, right? Our hook is right here. So for round 2, we're going to start with this 2-part puff, and we're going to work into the puff we just made and into the first small puff. So the same place where we worked this last leg of that puff. And that gives us this puff here, okay? Now we're gonna alternate between 3-part puffs and 2-part puffs, okay? So this 3-part puff goes always into the last puff you just made, and then it's gonna go into the base of the last leg of that puff, and then it's gonna go into the next puff. And then when we get to the 2-part puff, it's going to go in always into the last puff that you just made and into the base of the last leg of that same puff. Okay, we're going to keep doing that all the way around, and we end with a 3-part puff just like we did on this one that's going to connect us to that first puff. So that's a lot of puffs. Let's go through it step by step. So here is the top of the puff that we just made right here. And then you can follow this last leg. There is the top of that first puff of the round. So that's where we're going to start working. And once we get started, then the rest sort of fall into place. So we're going to draw this up again to the height that we want it to be. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook in the last puff we just worked, yarn over and pull up a loop. Do that 2 more times. Okay, that's our first leg, 7 loops for our first leg. Now our second leg, remember we're doing a 2-leg puff. Our second leg is going into this stitch. It's the stitch at the base of the last leg of the puff that we just made. I know that's a long way to say it, but it's always the stitch that's at the base of the last leg of the last puff that you made. So I yarn over, I insert my hook into that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, 1 more time. There's my 6 loops on my hook for that leg. So I hold the yarn, yarn over, pull through all 13 loops, stick my hook back into that yarn I held, yarn over, pull through 2, and then chain 1. Now, after you make this first 2-part cluster, it's a good idea to put a stitch marker at the top of it. I don't have a marker handy, so I'm just going to use this handy dandy little piece of scrap yarn. Okay. And the reason for that is once we start getting all the other clusters in here, that's going to be really hard to see where you started the round. So having a marker just to show where you started the round will be really helpful. So let's move on to our next cluster, which is the 3-part cluster. So bring up my loop, yarn over, insert it into the last stitch I made. Okay, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. That's 3 times 7 loops on my hook. That's the first leg. The second leg, just keep going around and go to the next stitch. Okay, that is going to be the stitch at the base of the last leg of the last stitch that you made. So yarn over, insert your hook into that next stitch, pull up a loop. 2, 3 times. Okay, and then this is a 3-part, a 3-puff cluster. So we're going 1 more stitch over. So yarn over, insert in that one, pull up a loop. 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, 19 loops on our hook, yarn over, holding that yarn, pull it through all 19 loops, stick your hook back under that held yarn, yarn over and pull through 2. And there's my 3-part cluster. Okay, 3-puff cluster. Chain 1, and let's move on to the next one. Now we're alternating between 2 puffs and 3 puffs. So this one is a 2-puff cluster. So we're just going to pull up our loop, go into this stitch here, pull up a loop, 2, 3 times, and then into this stitch here. 1, 2, 3 times. Hold back the loop, pull through all of them, stick it in that held back loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and chain 1. So I'm going to show that to you one more time because this is the most complicated part of the whole square. So we've just done a 2-part cluster. Let's do another 3-puff cluster. Bring up the loop to the height that you want, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop. 2, 3 times. That's the first leg. Then in the next top of a stitch that you find, okay? Pull up a loop, pull up a loop, pull up a loop. That's the second leg. Now in the next top of a stitch that you find, pull up a loop, pull up a loop, pull up a loop. You've got 3 legs, hold back your yarn, pull it through all 3, okay? Grab that held yarn and yarn over and pull through 2, and then chain 1. And that was a 3-part. Then you follow the 3-part with a 2-part. So pull up your loop, go in the top here, and then in the bottom here. 1, 2, 3, and that makes your 2 legs. Hold back your yarn, yarn over, pull through, insert your hook in the held back yarn, yarn over, and pull through. Not counting the first 2 puffs, I've repeated that 3-puff, 2-puff repeat. I've repeated it twice now. So I've got to do it 1, 2, 3 more times, and then we'll come back and do that final 3rd puff. I've just finished my last 3-puff cluster of the last repeat. I still have to do the 2-puff cluster of that same repeat. And notice that, we're getting pretty close to the end here, but there's still room. We've got 2 more clusters to do. So here is my last 2-puff cluster. 1, 2, 3. That's the first leg. 1, 2, 3. That's the second leg. Pull through all of them. Grab that held loop that I let go a little bit right there. Yarn over, pull through both, chain 1. And now we do that last final 3-puff cluster. And that 3-puff cluster is going to connect here to the stitch we just did, here to the bottom of that last leg, and here where we've marked right at the top of the last stitch of the round, or first stitch of the round. So pull up our loop, yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop 3 times here. Okay, that's 7 loops on our hook. Now 3 times here. 2, 3. Okay, and then 3 times here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, grab that yarn, pull through all those 19 loops, stick your hook in the yarn that you held, yarn over, pull through 2, and then chain 1 to finish the stitch. Now that chain 1 technically isn't needed at the end of this round, but we need to do a chain 1 anyway to start the next round. So I'm just doing the chain 1 here. You can do the chain 1, you cannot do the chain 1. It's not going to hurt anything. You can do it again when we get to the next round. Either way is fine. Chain or don't chain is up to you here. And we can go ahead and remove this stitch marker. And that is rounds 1 and 2 that makes this beautiful jasmine stitch. Now to finish off this section, we're going to do 1 round of single crochet, and when we do that round, we're just putting 4 single crochets into each of the stitches all the way around. Okay, and then we're going to do 1 round of half double crochets, but back post half double crochets. So they go around the posts of those single crochets. So let's look at that. And here's the chain 1 that starts the next round. So if you do the chain 1 here, you can skip that chain 1 that starts the next round. Either way is fine. Like I said, it won't hurt anything if you have an extra chain there. So let's go ahead and start on round 3. For round 3, we very simply chain 1, which I've already done here, right? And single crochet 4 times in the top of each of these stitches. That's 1. Four times in the top of each stitch, and I'm going to do that all the way around. When I'm done, I should have a total of 48 stitches because there should be 12 of these stitches all the way around. Okay, I'm down to my last one. I've got 4 more to do in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I join with a slip stitch in my very first stitch, which is right there. So now in round 4, we're going to do back post half double crochets, which will push the edge of these stitches forward, making a nice outline for our jasmine stitch section. So we start with a chain 1, and then starting right around that very first stitch. So we're still going to have 48 stitches in this round. We're just doing one stitch around each stitch here. So yarn over, insert your hook from the back, around the front, and out to the back again, around the post of that one stitch. Now single crochet stitches have very small posts, but if I pull this apart, you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you're working with a single crochet, another way to think of it is you're coming in from one side of it and you go through basically the top of the stitch on the other side. This one has that extra chain that I'm catching, but I'll show you in the next one. So we come in from the back. Don't be afraid to pull it apart to see it, okay? You come in from the back to the front and then around to the back again, okay? Yarn over, pull that loop through around the stitch, okay? Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Now watch on this one, you'll see there's no little chain on the side, right? So you can just come in from one, come in from the stitch before or the top of stitch before and go out from the top of stitch after. So it's in like this from the back, around and out. Yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops or all 3 loops on your hook. And just do that around each of these stitches all the way around. You should have 48 of them when you're finished with the round. I've just got 2 or 3 left to do here. 45, 46, 47, and 48. And that is the end of round 4. Now I'm going to join, but I'm also going to change colors. So I'm going to go ahead and join with my next color here. This is the orchid color. And the way I'm going to change colors is when I do my slip stitch, instead of doing it with the color I'm using, I'm going to do it with the new color. And that's all. So that makes that color change, and these will get a little floppy, but you can just pull on them, and when you weave in the ends, they will be nice and snug. And then I can fasten off my cream color. And that's the center jasmine stitch portion of the square. Let's move on to the next section. You'll notice on the next chart that the rounds we've just worked are grayed out, and that is to help us see more clearly what we're doing at this point. So this is a reference for what we've already done, but this is what we're actually working now. So you'll see here, this is the last stitch of the last round, and we joined with a slip stitch into that round, or into that stitch. And now we're ready to start round 5. Here with a chain 1 and a puff stitch into the same stitch. Now this is a different type of puff. It doesn't have that part where you hold back the yarn as you're pulling through. This is just a traditional normal puff stitch. So we're going to work a puff stitch into that stitch, chain 2 for our corner, and then work a puff stitch and a double crochet into the next stitch. When we finish the round, we're going to come back and put a double crochet in this stitch to finish off this corner. So let's do just those 3 stitches there. Puff stitch, chain 2, and then puff stitch and double crochet in the next stitch. For the puff stitch, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, and I'll do that 4 times for this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So instead of 7 loops on our hook like before, this puff stitch has 9 loops on our hook. Now we're going to yarn over. I'm not holding anything. We're just going to yarn over and pull through all 9 loops and then chain 1 to close. Now I'm going to do 2 more chains for the corner chain space. So all told, there's 3 chains there. 1 is the closing chain of the puff stitch and 2 are for the corner chain space. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to do a puff stitch, don't forget the chain 1 to close, and a double crochet in the same stitch. So that's our corner formed. We're going to start turning this circle into a square here. After that, we're going to do another double crochet into the next stitch. Then we're going to do this mini shell stitch sort of thing here where we do 2 double crochets and 1 half double crochet. So we do this next double crochet, we skip 2 stitches, and then we put all 3 of these, 2 doubles and 1 half double, into the third stitch, into the next stitch. And then 2 single crochets, 1 in each stitch, and then the reverse of this shell. So instead of going double, double, half double, we're going to go half double, double, double into the next stitch. Skip 2, double crochet in the next stitch, and then we're ready to do our next corner with the double crochet and puff, chain 2, puff, and double crochet. So let's go through all of that together. I've done the first corner, so now I double crochet in the next stitch. I skip 2 stitches, and then in this next stitch I'm going to do 2 double crochet and a half double crochet. Now I single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then I'm going to work the reverse of this. So half double crochet and 2 double crochet into that same stitch. Okay, then I'm ready to go to almost my next corner. I skip 2, double crochet in this stitch, and then here's the corner. So the corner is double crochet, puff stitch, and chain 1 to close, then a chain 2 for the corner, and then in the next stitch, puff stitch, chain 1 to close, and double crochet. So that's a full side edge there. The double crochet, the little mini shell thingy, the 2 single crochets, the opposite version of that shell, and then another double crochet, and then the corner. So I'm going to keep doing that all the way around, and I'll come back to you when we're back to our starting corner. I just have 3 stitches left to work into. I skipped 2 of them, and then I'm double crocheting into that last stitch, and then we go back to our starting corner here where we first joined, and I'm going to do another double crochet there to finish off that corner, and then we join with a slip stitch in the top of that first puff. So that's round 5, and you can see it's already starting to look a little bit more square. Round 6 is going to take us all the way to square, so let's go to that one. For round 6, we're going to do the same corner assembly that we've been doing. So we start with that puff stitch and then chain 2 and then puff and double crochet. This time all of that's going to be worked into the chain 2 space. Then we're going to do, going in every stitch across, we're going to do 2 double, 2 half double, 6 single, 2 half double, 2 double, and then our next corner assembly. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to slip stitch into that chain 2 space to get me started, chain 1, and then puff stitch 4 times, pull through, chain 1, and then chain 2 for the corner, and another puff stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, pull through, chain 1 to close, and a double crochet. And just like before, we'll be putting that last double crochet back there to finish this corner. Now, 2 double crochet, so double crochet in this stitch, double crochet in this stitch, half double crochet twice, so that's 1, and there's 2, and then 6 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then we've got 2 half double crochets and 2 double crochets. And that brings us to our corner where we're going to work double crochet, puff stitch, chain 2 for the corner space, puff stitch, double crochet. Okay, and then we start again with 2 doubles, 2 half doubles, 6 singles, 2 half doubles, 2 doubles, and that gets us to the next corner. So I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I'm coming up on that last corner. I've just finished my 2 half double crochet. Here is my next double and another double. And then I still have to put that last double crochet into this corner chain space. And then I can join in the top of that puff stitch. That's round 6, and our circle has now turned into a square. We're going to finish it off on round 7 with a roughly sort of an edge that will then get drawn back together on round 8. So don't worry, round 7 will make your edge ruffle, but it won't stay that way. We're going to start in the corner with a single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet, and then all the way across we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet, chain 1, all the way across in every stitch. All those extra chains are going to make the edge ruffle right now, but once we draw it back in on the next round, they will push forward and make a really pretty edge here. So we're going to do that all the way around with a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in each corner space. First we have to slip stitch into our corner space, and now we're ready to start. So chain 1, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. That's our corner. In every one of these stitches, well, first we have to do a chain 1 to get ready, and now in every one of these stitches we're going to do a single crochet and a chain 1. So single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, and we keep doing that all the way to the next corner. I'm coming to the end here. I've got 2 more of these to do. Okay, and now I'm at my corner, and I will do a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And I'm going to keep doing that all the way around all the edges. You can see how it's starting to get ruffly, and that is perfectly okay. That's what we want. If you want to count your stitches on this round, it's a good time to do that. Not counting the corners, so not counting these 2 single crochet. You should have 18 single crochet across each side. So I'll go all the way around, and I'll come back and meet you at the beginning corner. I'm coming to the end. I just have 1 more single crochet and chain 1 to do here, and then I'm going to go ahead and join and slip stitch into the chain space, but now I want to change colors when I do that because I want a new color for the next round. So I grab my new color and I make that last slip stitch in the new color. And now I'm ready for my next round. This next chart actually has 2 sections on it. We have our crossed stitches here, and then we have our fan stitches here. So we are right here starting with round 8. And for round 8, we're going to draw everything back together again by basically working a single crochet in each stitch all the way across. In the corners, we're going to work a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, just like we did on this row or this round. And then in every single crochet all the way across, completely ignoring those chain 1 spaces, we're going to work a single crochet, but in the back loop. So that's going to push the stitches of this round forward, or the front loops at least forward, and push those chain spaces forward as well. So let's do that. We're starting in this corner. I'm going to chain 1 to get up to height, and then single crochet, chain 2 for the corner, and single crochet in that same corner space. Now we're going to start working in back loops. When you look at your stitch, this is the front loop and this is the back loop. This is our very first single crochet, so I'm going to go ahead and work in the back loop of that one. And now we skip all of the chain 1s. So that's a chain 1, that's my next single crochet. Chain 1, single crochet. They should alternate. You can also look for the post and find the stitch that's directly above it, the little V that's directly above that opening. So this is where you would normally stick your hook, but we're going just in the back loop of that V shape. Single crochet, skip the slip stitch or skip the chain 1, single crochet. And as you do this, there should be 20 single crochets in the back loop. So not counting the corners, you should have 20 single crochets in the back loop all the way across your row to the next corner. I've got one more to do to make 20. That brings me to my corner space here. Open it up, find your corner space, and single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that corner space. And then we keep doing that all the way around, and I will meet you back over here. Here's the last stitch of the round right into that last back loop there, and then I'm going to join with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Now you can see how this round has pulled everything back in again, and we've got our nice square. And all of those little chains made this little zigzag design in this line that sticks out in the front. Let's move on to our crossed stitches. For the corners on the next row, we'll do a half double crochet, chain 2, and half double crochet. And then all the way across the row, we're going to make these cross stitches. These are front post double crochet cross stitches that lean to the left. And the way we do that is first we skip this stitch and we work this front post double crochet over the second stitch, right? Or around the second stitch. Then we come back and we do a front post double crochet going in front of this one. We do a front post double crochet around the stitch we skipped. So each of these crosses will take up 2 stitches. Let's go ahead and do that and see how it works. First, I'm going to do the slip stitch to get me into that chain 2 space in the corner. That's actually at the end of the last round. I just hadn't done it yet. Make sure not to skip that step because you want to start your rounds in the corner, not in the stitch before. So chain 1 to get up to height, and now I'm going to do half double crochet, chain 2, half double crochet in the corner. Now, skip this first stitch, and we're going to do a front post double crochet around this stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook from front to back and out to the front again around this stitch, pull up a loop, okay? Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That is the first half of the cross. Now we're going to do a double crochet, a front post double crochet around the stitch that we skipped. Yarn over again, insert our hook from front to back and then out to the front again around the post of that stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is our first cross. We're going to keep doing that with every pair of stitches that we come across. So we're going to skip this one and do a front post double crochet around this one. And then go back to the one we skipped and do a front post double crochet around this one. Notice everything is in front of that front post double crochet I worked before. I'm not going around it like this. You want to make sure you have everything in front so that this stitch is completely in front of the previous stitch. And that makes our crosses. So I'll do that all the way across to the end until we get back to the next corner. I'm just finishing up my last cross in those last 2 single crochets. And I should have 11 crosses going across my row here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 crosses going all the way across. And then I get to my chain 2 space here, and I'm going to work a half double crochet, chain 2, and half double crochet. I'm going to keep doing that all the way around, and I'll come back to you when I get back to the beginning. I have one more cross to make here on my last 2 stitches. There's the front part, the back part, and there's the second part. And then I join with a slip stitch in the first stitch of the round. And to finish the round, I'm going to slip stitch into the chain 2 space. And we're going to repeat what we did here with the chain 1 spaces to do another little edging like this. Looking at the chart, you can see we do our single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet into that chain 2 corner space. And then we do a chain 1 and single crochet chain 1 in each stitch all the way across ending with a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the next corner space. We're in the corner space. I chain 1 to get up to height, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet for my corner. Chain 1 to get going, and now I'm going to single crochet, chain 1 in each of these stitches. So single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1. And I do that all the way across with a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in each of the corners. We've already done this once, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it and meet you at the end of the round. I have one more single crochet, chain 1 to do. I join with a slip stitch in the first stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch into this chain 2 corner space, but I want to change colors again. So I've already cut this color, and I'm going to do this last slip stitch here with the orchid color again. So I've changed colors and I'm ready for the next section. Here's our square after round 10 with lots of lovely ruffles that are going to give us the texture in the next round. For round 11, we're going to do the same thing that we did here with one minor difference. When we get up to these shells, we need an odd number of stitches instead of an even number of stitches. So in round 11, we're going to throw a decrease into the middle of each straight section. So in the corner, we do our single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And they're leaning this way because doing that decrease is going to pull our corners in a little bit and flatten the sides even more. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the corner, and then single crochet in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 back loops. Then we do a decrease in the back loops, a single crochet 2 together, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 12 back loops and then do our corner again. In this round, again, we are skipping all of the chain 1 spaces and only working into the stitches. So let's put that all together and see how it looks. First in the corner, I chain 1 to get up to my height, and then I single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now I'm skipping the chain 1 spaces, so skip those spaces, and I'm working into each of the stitches. I'm going to do 12 single crochets in back loops. So here's my first one right here. That's 1. Skip the chain. 2, 3, 10, 11, 12. Now I'm at the center. I'm going to do a decrease. Again, we're still skipping the chains. So my decrease goes, and we're still going in the back loops too. So my decrease goes in this back loop. I insert my hook, pull up a loop, okay? Then I skip the chain, go in the next back loop, insert my hook, pull up a loop. Then I yarn over, pull through all 3 together, and that's my decrease. There should be 12 more single crochet left before I get to my next corner. 11 and 12. Now I'm at my corner, and in the corner I'm going to single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And I repeat that. I'm actually going to go right to the middle here. I'll do my 12 and then I'll show you that decrease one more time. I've done 12 single crochet. Now I'm going to do a decrease. So pick up a loop in that one, pick up a loop in that one, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And then I'll have 12 more single crochet across to the corner. I'm going to keep doing this all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the beginning again. Here's my last single crochet, and I join with a slip stitch in the first stitch, and once again I slip stitch into the chain 2 space so that I'm set up for the next round. And that's round 11. Round 12 has these fun fan stitches that combine double crochet, chains, and puff stitches. In the corners, we're going to work now 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. We're going to start that with a chainless starting double crochet, and when we get all the way back around, we'll put the last double crochet in that same corner, similar to what we did back here where we were doing those puff stitches. So after we do the corner, we'll have one double crochet after the corner, and then we'll have these fans. We're going to have 5 fans all the way across and another double crochet before doing the next corner. The fan works by skipping 1, 2 stitches here, and then we work these 5 stitches, this double crochet, chain 1, puff stitch, chain 1, double crochet, and then in between 2 fans here we're skipping 2 stitches for this fan and 2 stitches for that fan. So we're going to skip 4 stitches between fans. Let's go ahead and work through that together. First, I'm going to do a chainless starting double crochet. Now, if you don't like this technique, you can just chain 3 and count that as a double crochet. But this stitch looks a little bit more similar to an actual double crochet than the chain 3 does. So we're going to pull up a loop to about the height of a double crochet, maybe a little bit extra. We're going to grab that loop with this finger and not let go. Bring your hook towards you and then twist it down and around. And you can see that you've created something that looks like a yarn over. Don't let go or it'll undo, okay? So grab the loop, hold it tight, twist towards you and around, and now we have what counts as the loop on our hook plus a yarn over. So now we're going to insert our hook into the chain space where we want to do our double crochet. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. I am still holding on to that twist, okay? But now we have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, and now here's where I can let go. Yarn over, pull through 2, and you can see that that makes a double crochet. Let's try that one more time. I do have a full tutorial for this, and there's a link to that. I'll put a link in the comments on this video, and there's also a link in the pattern post. So hold on to your stitch, rotate your hook, insert it into the chain space where we want to make our double crochet, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we finish it like a double crochet, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is our first double crochet, our chainless starting double crochet. Now we're going to chain 2 for the chain 2 space, and then we're going to work 2 more double crochet into this same space here. Then we have 1 more double crochet to do in our first stitch here before we can start our fans. So we're ready for the fans. The first fan we're going to skip 2 stitches, and then in this 3rd stitch we're going to double crochet, chain 1, puff stitch. Remember, that's yarn over, insert, and pull up a loop 4 times. 3, 4 times. Yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1 to close the puff stitch, and then chain 1 for the chain 1 space, okay? And then another double crochet in that same spot. So that's what our fan looks like. Now we need to skip 4 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and put another fan here. Double crochet, chain 1, puff stitch, pull through all, chain 1 to close, chain 1 for the chain 1 space, and double crochet. We're going to keep doing that, skip 4 and fan all the way across till we get to the end of the row. I am just finishing that last fan. Now there's 2 more, because remember there's no more fans here, so I only skip 2. 1, 2, 2 more to skip, and then I do a double crochet in this next stitch. And that brings me to the corner space. And in the corner we're going to do 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. And we're going to continue that all the way around the square, and I'll meet you back at the beginning of the round. I finished my last fan. I'm going to skip 2 stitches, double crochet in this last stitch, and then remember we started with only the 1 double crochet in the corner, so I'm going to put another double crochet into that corner and join with a slip stitch in the very first stitch there. And then again I'm going to slip stitch into the chain space to position myself for the next round. And that is round 12. Round 13 is the last round before the border, and this is where we can start making adjustments if your gauge is a little bit off and your square is either too big or too small. If your square is nearly at the 12 inches already, like if it's a little over 11 inches already, then what we can do is we can work this as a solid round without doing the chain spaces here. But if you still have some time to go, we're going to do chain spaces. So let me show you both options here. We start in this corner. We're going to chain 1 and work a half double crochet, chain 2 and 2 half double crochet. We'll come back and work that last half double crochet here so that each corner will have 2 half double crochets, a chain 2 and 2 half double crochets. We're going to half double crochet in the first 3 stitches, and then when we get to these fans, we're going to put 2 double crochet in each of the chain 1 spaces and chain 1 to cross over that puff stitch. Now, if you wanted to make this a solid round and not work the border, instead of doing the chain 1, you could put a single crochet into that puff stitch. So both of those are options depending on whether you want to finish the square now or whether you do want to work the border. So let's take a look at that. I'm in the corner, so I'm going to chain 1, half double crochet. I'm just doing the first half double crochet for this side, chain 2, and then 2 half double crochet into this chain space here. Now going across these 3 stitches, I'm going to just half double crochet into each of them. And now we start to get to our fans. And in the fan, if I'm going to be working a border round, which will be a solid round, what I do is I do 2 half double crochet in this chain space, chain 1 to skip over that puff stitch, and then 2 half double crochet in this chain space. And I would continue doing that across. If, on the other hand, I want to work this as my very last round and I want it to be solid, I can do 2 half double crochet in this chain space, single crochet in the puff stitch, so no chain 1 space, just a single crochet in the puff stitch, and 2 half double crochet in this chain 1 space. So you get to decide whether you want to end here or whether you want to continue. I'm going to be continuing, so I'm going to take this out and I'm going to do all of them like this all the way across. When I get to the corner, I'll have the last 3 stitches that'll be half double crochets, and then I'll have 2 half double crochet, chain 2, 2 half double crochet in each corner. So I'm going to do that all the way around and come back to the beginning. I'm at my last half double crochet here, and then I'm back to the corner. Now in the corner, remember we started with just 1 half double, so I have to put that one last half double in there and then join with a slip stitch in the top of this stitch here. And now I do want to slip stitch in the corner, but I also want to change color. So I'm going to go ahead and do that slip stitch in the corner with my new color and fasten off this color that I am done with. And that is the end of round 13. Let's move on to the border. Now that we're at the end, we're just looking at the whole chart. Nothing's grayed out because all that's left to do is basically 2 single crochet rows. The first row we're going to do, well, both rows we're going to do a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in our corners, okay? The first row, wherever we're working into stitches, we're going to work into back loops. Wherever we're working into chain spaces, those chain 1s that are on top of the puffs, we're going to work into the chain space as normal. And we'll just single crochet all the way across to the end and then do single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the corner. So let's do that. Chain 1 to get up to the height, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet for the corner. Now we're single crocheting into stitches, so we're going to work in the back loops. And don't forget this first stitch right here. That one is right here and can sometimes get eaten up by your corner. So we're going to single crochet in all these back loops until we get to the first chain 1 space. And there should be 7 of them, so I've made my 7 single crochet. Now I'm in my space. I'm going to do a single crochet just in the space like normal. And then there should be 4 single crochet to work into before the next space. Again, I'm in the back loops. I get to the next space, I work into the space like normal. I'm going to continue that all the way around with a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the corners, and I'll meet you back at the beginning. I have 1 more single crochet in the back loop to do here, and then I'm back to the beginning and I join with a slip stitch in that first stitch. And again, I want to change color for my next round, so when I slip stitch in here, I'm going to do it with my new color. I'm going to slip stitch in here with the new color and cut the old color. And that's round 14. We're on to our very last round, which is just single crochet in every stitch around. And in the corners, we're going to do the single crochet, chain 2 single crochet that we've been doing. Now, round 15, you can repeat as many times as you want if you need your square to be bigger. You can also skip it entirely if your square is already big enough. I'll just do it once and then show you. So I'm in the corner, I chain 1, and I single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the same corner, right? And then I'm just going to single crochet in every stitch all the way across to the next corner, and I keep doing that all the way around. Here's my very last stitch in that very last stitch, and then I join with a slip stitch in the first single crochet. And if I was going to continue and add more rounds, I would slip stitch into the chain 1 space. If I'm not, there's no need to do that. So I'm just going to fasten this off. But before I fasten off, I want to show you an alternate way to join the round. So I joined with a slip stitch, which just leaves that little nub right there, right? Instead, you can fasten off before joining and then make an invisible join. So if I fasten off before joining, now what I'm going to do is mimic the shape of this stitch here. Let me zoom in a little more. I'm going to mimic this V shape by pulling this yarn underneath the legs of the next stitch and then back down through the center of this stitch. And you can see that's formed another V, and it's a very seamless looking join. And that's how you make the Wild Jasmine blanket square. All that's left to do is give it a good wash and block it, and then weave in the ends. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, or leave me a comment. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great videos. Thanks for watching.